Welcome back to our scale model house build. We are really moving along here. Today is a momentous day. We are starting on sheet 8. So let's take an overview of sheet 8. Of course, it's too big to fit in the frame, but we'll just note here at the bottom we are on sheet 8. And there's one new piece that you need that you don't have. You haven't used this yet. We're going to need this, and this is called the miter jig. And this is for use with your saw. Now, I remember like day 1 or day 2 with the saw, I dropped it and bent it, so I haven't really used it too much. But this will go in these slots and allow us to get just the perfect angle on the wood. This is like really awesome. It's going to make it really easy for us to get the perfect angles. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these, and we have a lot of parts. We have so many parts here, and so let's look at what it's talking about. Here's our patterns, and here's our pieces, and then it says, you know, how many? 18, 36. We're just going to need 32 of these, 32 of these, 4 of these, 34. These, 128. These, 64. So these are gussets, the gusset parts. Oh, and here's our note. Here's our really special note here. Use 2x4 material for all parts except gussets. Use 1x6 material for gussets. So let's just talk about what the 1x6 material is so you know about the gussets. So the gussets are, the gussets are this 1x6 material, and this is all it's used for, so this will be consumed. I mean, look at this, 34, 128, 64. This stuff is going to go. But first let me do the measurement so you know which one I'm talking about. Identifying this is very important. This is a 10-inch piece, and it's 10 inches. And when we go like this, pulling out the other, I pulled out too many, but let me just pull out one. See if I can fit this other piece back. Get back in there. Okay, so when we look at that in comparison to the 2x4, you see how different it is. Okay, let's see if we can. So there's a big difference between the 2x4 piece and this 1x6 piece. Okay, so remember, this is only for these G's, G1, G2, and G3. So that's what this whole bundle is for. When you want to do all of those, great. You know, we'll probably do enough for one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 7. There's 7, and there's only 7. There's only 7 gussets. So I'm going to take out 2 pieces. Maybe I had the right idea before. And G1, that's just 1. And G3, 1, 2, and G2, 2. Okay, you're just going to need 2 of these. We're just going to try to build one. I mean, I'm not going to try to build all of these on camera, but then I'll have a nice estimate about how much time this is going to take. And I'm going to put the gusset material in a special spot. And now that, let's just put it back in the box. That's out of the way. Now, when I'm looking here, I'm going, what's next? What's another, okay, 2x4 material for all parts except gussets, but these are very specific pieces. So when we're saying the bottom chord and the top chord, so here's our bottom chord, and our bottom chord looks like there's 18 of them, and it looks like those are the same. Here's the bottom chord here, and here's the bottom chord there. So boom, we're just gonna go across and this is it. So for now, we're just gonna need 2 of those. I'm only gonna try to do one of the top and one of the bottom. Although remember, you're gonna be doing a lot more than that. I think it's only important to show you how to do one of them. So let's practice out. Getting our materials out is key. So I'm immediately drawn to the longest pieces that we have in our bundle. So that's this piece here, this bundle, and this is 18. Yep, it's 18. It's very obvious that these are the longest ones. So let's take 2 out. I'm just going to take 2 of those 18s out, and that's going to be for both of those. So we're going to cut those, and then I'm going to put this bundle back. Okay, this isn't long enough. This is long enough. So these are going to be the top chords here and here. I do not agree. I do not agree with this. I can already see something's off. Okay, so okay, so what I've noticed is usually these are cut even. These are cut in a vertical position, so we would call this at a 90 degrees. So I'm gonna zoom in on this, and I want to point out something. Now, I think that this is really the case. I'm gonna change cameras. Wait, well, I don't think I need to. I am going to try to put a different roof in frame so that you can see it. I don't know. That's the edge, and the edge is 90 degrees. Okay, so that's really what I'm working with there. It's at the 90-degree angle if we're talking about like polar angles, and that's just. So I think that that's just an oversight on their part, but it's definitely how they're always cut. So I disagree with this part right here. So this part here, let's see if I can erase this and do it a little nicer. I'd want this to go straight up. And that's so when you put your facial piece, you're usually using a lighter piece of wood on this outside for trim. Then you can mount this flush to the outside, and it's better for drainage off of this face. And then mounting of the rain gutters. So this is definitely an issue. I will do it just like the way it is right now, and then just do one of them just to match it. But I really want to talk to Mr. Dennis about this and make a plan going forward. This is It's out of frame. This is not best practice. I believe that there's some issues here. Okay. All right. So then that would change this. This is the top chord, and then this will be the same, this will be the same, this will be the same. Okay. It wants us to do a lot of cutting and creating of these masters. I'll create 2 as I go, just to get through this. And let's see where we're at here. So this is probably the bottom chords that they're talking about. So let's get to two of those. Okay. And then for these pieces, I have some lumber left in this length size. I think I'm out of the smallest lumber. Yes, we finished the small stuff. So we're all done. We're all done with it with the 8-footers. I'm just double checking. Yep, we are. We are done with those. So everything is going to come out of these or the longer pieces. So the next ones I'm consuming. Okay, so here's the bottom. Here's the bottom. The top chord. Those are 14s. Those are 14 inches. And then these next smaller ones are 9.5. And so that's what I'm going to use for these. I don't want to use the larger pieces because I actually think they're for something else. So I'm going to grab 2 out. There we go. I think that will be enough for, let's see, how many? Slot 5. Oh my goodness, there's so many. Look at this. So all of these are what are going in here. I'm going to move my pieces out of the way so they're not in the frame. I think they're distracting from our talk about this. I'll just keep one. So here, this is talking about all of these. Look at that. So that's going to take a while to cut all of those. And it's like 4 of each. So 4 of, this will take a long time because this is the ends. But the good news is we only have to do 2 of those. So doubling that for each end of the building from each side is going to be 4. And wow, that's going to take a while. And then look at this. Well, I think that the best alignment that I can get here is to go from the top down. Yeah. So when we're attaching sheet 8 to the foam, we're going in the upper left-hand corner and we're putting the nails in. So let's start with that. That at least is just business as usual for us. This is something that we've done quite a bit of, putting the nails in and pulling out the slack. And I'm always trying to smooth out the wrinkles, the little bumps in there, so we can okay. So I don't know if we can get this all in the frame. I don't even think it's possible. Well, at least we can get this in the frame, and we can be cutting these pieces first, and then these we're going to go up here to work on the top Belgian W truss pattern, and we're just going to try to go through one together. First things first, I'm going to grab this longer piece, and then when we look at this, it says cut in miter slot 6. So then we look at this piece here, we see that this is miter slot 6, so this is 5 and this is 6. And so then we would have to do the cuts on that. And what's a good way to hold this? I think the easiest thing is going to be to do this side first. So I'm just going to place the saw in the slot and see where it falls. And I'm trying to get it close to the edge. I'm holding this to the bottom edge here, and I'm going to try to pull the saw gently back to make the cut. Great. That's one. It didn't come to a point, so I'm going to sand that just a little bit. Gently. Okay. That angle looks good. Let's match it up. This is just barely long enough. I'm extending the lines a little bit just so you can see that a little bit better. I'm really aligning it with this line here. The angle looks very close, but I'm aligning it all the way to the tip. From the tip here, because it really needs to reach the tip. And then that angle does not look right. Wait a minute, let me check this one. That angle looks right. Okay. I think I'm just going to need to put a dot where I want to cut it. It's very hard to see, but if I cut it correctly, the tip just extends to there. So there's very little waste here, so be very, very careful with your cut. This will require us to flip it. Oh, okay. Flipping this in my head is quite difficult, so I'm just trying to not mess this up. We don't really have enough to mess this up, so I have to go backwards. I'm gonna sketch this. Okay, so this is how you won't mess this up. Oh, I'm sorry, build it down here. Okay, so I'm gonna do the dots. Okay, so I just made a line so I know which way I'm gonna be cutting the angle on this so I don't mess this up. We need these angles to be right. We can't have one and then the other one flip the other way, but we might have to flip this to cut it. So this, nope. This, nope. It needs to go upside down. Wow. So I'm gonna actually flip this around. And mark this point. There we go. And now that this is flipped around, then I can mark this side. So the jig will help us cut the angle, but the angle is very, it's hard to see it. I'm trying to hold it so that you can see it as well. So when we put the blade in here, we want it to come out just on that edge. There, like that. Okay. I am ready for this cut. Pulling back gently. Didn't quite go all the way through. So I'm gonna do this very slow. This is my first one and I really don't want to mess this up. So I'm just trying to do this so slow. I think now that I've made the line in it, I'm just gonna go through with the razor blade. I don't like, the jig doesn't seem to be the best for this, and I really like the razor. Now that I have the line in there, I'm able to just go straight down. Okay, that's great. Do a little sand. Okay, so let's check this out. I can see this is going to take a while. It appears to be just, it might just be a 16th. Oh, no, it looks near perfect. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's going to go down here on this piece. And then we need to do the top chords. And then once we do the top chords, then we're going to, I think we're going to make a decision on cutting that angle into it. Okay, let me check this out. So that one's good. That one's good to go. And then these top chords, these look all the same. I'm gonna cut them straight up the way that I'm envisioning them working. I'm going to cut them with that angle on it, on the edge, the vertical 90 degrees. I just think that's the way it should be. And if you're wondering, this angle here is going to be parallel to this. Oh, this face here is parallel to this face here. So this is perfectly at 90 degrees, this piece. And then this should be parallel to that. Okay, next. Slot 2, it's not saying that there's a specific mark on this, like an angle in the jig on this. I'm going to extend this line so it makes more sense. Okay, so I've extended that line. So putting a straight edge there and then making it longer so you can see across it. That will allow me to get a really good angle mark. So from there. From there. And then this one would be an identical angle to that. If I had a protractor, this would be very exact, but I'm just going to just kind of eyeball it. And we already come out quite a bit past the edge, so I'm going to take away from it instead of add to it. Sometimes these are cut before, and sometimes these are cut afterwards, so that they're all perfectly even. So sometimes they leave them long and then cut them afterwards. So what we're doing here is making all of our pieces that go into the trusses. And so we're cutting off of this pattern and we're trying to get all these little pieces. And so I just want to re-emphasize, I'm going to take a chance here on this, and I'm actually going to change the angle of what's going on. And the angle is about like this. So I've made that angle. And the angle, I just want to emphasize why I did this is because this, I believe is wrong. So this needs to actually be at a 90-degree angle, straight up and down. And I discussed that a little bit earlier in the video, but this is just a recap of why I've made this line right here. And so let me talk about these two lines. This line and this line are parallel. Oh, wait. Yes, that's right. At first I thought it was wrong, but so when we're looking at this, there's a straight line here. I'm going to take this chance and make this executive decision right now, and I'll talk to Mr. Dennis about it later. But like, this is really, 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 really how it looks in real life, because you attach the gutters to it, so sometimes you attach the gutters to it, and sometimes people put a facial piece over this, and the facial piece is at the 90-degree angle. So I'm just trying to keep it real. I'm making this decision. We'll see how it goes. I actually have a meeting with Mr. Dennis later, and then that's really going to answer a lot of this logistical questions. Now, we don't have to agree on what we do, but we do talk it out and see what's the best outcome for this project. And we're just guessing. We haven't done it yet. This is the first time. So when I'm looking at this, I got this one out of here. That one's good. Then I'm going to need these two top chords. So here, these are the next pieces. And so I have a mark right there, and then I'm going to get another mark. When I'm making these cuts, I like to do one cut first, and then get a really accurate second cut. Okay. Then I have my sandpaper. Great. So that's looking nice. And then I bring it over here. I lay it on top of this. There, that's really great. And then I'm going to sketch it. And that's why I extended that line, so I can easily make that sketch. And then I'm going to bring this here, this down, get my cutting surface. And I always cut it just a little bit on the right side of the line, because I'm going to have to sand this. Okay, so this piece is cut, and so let me lay it down here, so this makes sense. Bam. Okay, so this is going to be called this is the top chord, and we're going to need 36 of these, but for now we're just going to do 2. Okay, so I'm going to get my other medium length piece. Oh wait, I guess we need 4. And the reason why we need 4 is we need to do, I'm going to move this other piece out of the way. We need to do the 2 bottom chords here and here. I already have one. And then we need to do the 2 top chords here and the 2 top chords here. So although we need 2 of these the ends of the gable roof, and we need 16 of the W Belgian truss pieces along the roof to distribute the weight, I'm only going to do 2 videos, the video of this one and the video of this one. And then all the other ones are just repeats, so it doesn't really need its own video. So then I can focus more on the build. That's great. This I'm going to use as my master. Let's double check it. Let's double check. That looks good. Fabulous. Fabulous. The angle, I'm not loving that angle. I'm really not. So I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with the angle, but we're going to make it work the best we can. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and make my mark. Okay. And then I'm going to slightly sand it. There we go. And then I'm going to get this other piece going. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I took the piece that was from down here. This one isn't long enough. That was a mistake. So I chose a piece that wasn't long enough for the cut. It's good I just cut the end. That's not really that big of a mess up. Okay. Okay, got that. That's looking great. This is looking great. Okay. So I think I have two that are good to go. And so we're going to see how that looks here. I am not happy with that angle. I am not happy with either of those angles. True story. I think the angles are wrong on that. Not really a good way to fix that now. So I'm looking at this, and I'll try to talk you through this. Getting this aligned is going to be really weird if we don't do it with pins. So I'm going to put a nail in. I'm just going to do it by hand. I think that should hold it. Yeah, that's holding it. I'm going to try to talk about what the goal is here. Oops. Don't put the nail there, put it a little further out. Okay, now that I have these pieces nailed down, I have a nail here. Let me move it over. I have a nail here. I have a nail here, and I have two nails right here. And so then let's get this piece up into the mix. And this is a little bit long, but I can sand it and get this to drop into position. So I would just take the side that I think I have a little bit of a better angle on it, keep it, and then re-sand the other side. That's not great. So too long. What about this one? I think this longer one's better. You have to be careful when you're sanding these things because there's probably not that many extra. You probably have one extra maybe. That's my guess. Okay, keep sanding. Still quite a bit off. And I'm sanding it because cutting it at this point is very difficult when you're really close to the edge with the saw. It really tears it up. Okay. Getting closer. The first one's always the most difficult. It's getting really close. It might be close enough. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it like that. I think that's close enough. So then this, yeah, just a tiny bit more, just a tiny bit more. Okay. It's so close. We're building our template or our master, and when we do this, we need to take our time. And I know I could rush through it, but this is the one that all the other ones will be marked off of. So it's very important to not do this too quickly. Then you make a mistake, then you have to do it twice, so it'll take longer. That looks, it's really close. And the problem if I rush this, then we have a crooked roof. Yep, that's it. That's the real one. Okay, I'm gonna try to get a nail in. Okay, so now we're going to talk about why I think some things went wrong. Now we are going to put some gussets, which is like a plate that will cover this, but there's still a gap here. So let me, oh, I see what needs to happen. I need another nail here. I need a third nail. To keep the flex from happening. And that's what these other pieces will do eventually, but I want to talk to you about how this looks. I didn't have this piece aligned just right, so I'm going to move the whole bottom piece. This is pretty critical, so just you want to take your time with this, and you need to adjust it, because we still need to do these four. trying to hold it and work my way across. And again, I want to emphasize, not all of them are going to take this long, but we really need to I really need to talk to you about the fit of these things. What my expectations are if I want the project to come out nicely. Okay, so let's go over here and we're going to zoom in. So this needs to be 90 degrees. That's the difference right there. I think I need a better contrasting piece. Let me bring over the sandpaper. That's 90 degrees right there. I'm going to go ahead and say we can cut these at 90 degrees using this line here when we're building them. Okay, so I'm going to back out just a little bit. Leave this square for now. Leave that end going down for now, and then we'll cut it while it's in place. And then it will be perfect. And that's what I really see more in real life when we're doing this, unless they're engineered. If they're engineered, then they're perfect from the factory. You don't have to do anything like this. Now here, this is the type of gap I'm talking about. This is zero gap here. Let's zoom in as close as possible so you know exactly what I'm looking for. If you align your angle perfectly, this face will go all the way across, and getting it like that requires us to cut it close and then sand it to get that final really amazing fit in. So that's tough and it takes time, but hopefully with a good template that we're making this master, then we'll be able to do the other 16 better. So let me zoom out. Let's talk about this. So I'm right here at the top and I'm looking at this and there is a gap. There. I can fit the pencil inside there pretty easily. I wish I had a bright piece of paper. Let me look for a sticky note that might serve as a way for you to see how something bright. I think the yellow is too, well, I think you might be able to see this. I think it needs to be a brighter color. Or brighter or darker? Let me look. You can see the gap a little bit better now. So this angle is wrong, and if it was right, then these faces would be touching just like the other faces are. So I'm a little bit concerned with how the cuts are going, and I'm going to use the patterns that are at the bottom still. I'm not thrilled with the results so far, but this is the only way we figure out what's working and what's not working. So I'm going to continue down here and I'm going to try to finish this off. Web B, we need 1, 2, and we need web A, 1, 2. So if we get those two pieces in, then we should be good to go. So let's look down here and we see web A and we see web B. So when I see those two, I'm going to cut those, and I have a little bit left over from what I just cut, so I can try to use that. Is that going to be long enough? No, nope, nope. That's not going to work for that. It might work for that one, so I can use those over there. And then also not long enough. Okay, so I'm going to use my piece, this piece that I'm going to use here for this cut. So these pieces for slot 4, web B, excuse me, these pieces for web B are the leftovers from cutting these top cords. Also, I'm going to erase this for now. I don't like that. I don't like that angle, so I'm just going to get rid of that. That was my attempt to make it better, and it did not work. So we'll just cut them after it's up here on top. And then here, this is a piece that, let me grab the tape measure. This is 9.5 inches. So from your 9.5 inch pile or bundle, then we're able to get this next piece. When they're talking about these slots again, that's the slots on the miter jig. So we're talking about slot 5. Oh, uh-oh. Okay, I see what happened. So for this, I'm actually going to try cutting at the angle and see what happens. I have a little bit of extra room here. So I'm going to try to cut it and see if that angle actually works. So slot 2, so this might be drawn wrong. So cutting it here isn't right. So you're going to have to cut it at slot 2. Here's slot 2. I'm going over here. I'm grabbing my saw. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. Let's just go right Okay, that's almost all the way through. I like to always finish it off with the razor blade. And let's check the truss pattern. No, it's still wrong, I think. It's still wrong, but it's closer. It's way closer than it was before. I'd say go for it with the slot 2 from the miter jig. I'd say that is going to get us really close with this. So that's my full recommendation to get that going in there. And then this, we're saying slot 5. So slot 5 is right here. And so we're going to put our piece in and put the saw. I scoot it over. Okay. It's hard to hold this and show you. Maybe if I flip it around. There we go. Okay. Okay. Okay, I love that angle there. And then it says slot 4. So I'm going to make a line about where slot 4 could be marked. I'm extending these lines so that we have a little bit better area to see when we put our piece on top. And here, I'm going to put it here. I'm going to get my mark. I'm going to go across. And then I'm going to put this in slot 4. Here's slot 4. Flip this up. I've already drawn that line, so I have to flip it over. Oh, this one's going to have to go upside down. Okay, so this gets tricky because you have to flip it around. So I like to put 2 dots right here on the bottom and right here on the top, so I can see it in the jig. So I'm marking the ends where I want to cut it in the jig, and you're going to have to flip it over. So the line is on this side, but we're going to flip it over. And I try to align the line with the groove where the saw is going to go. That piece looks great, except I need to sand it a little bit. But before I sand it, I'm going to try to get it in the right spot. So this is web A. And so let's just see if it's even close to reality. And then we're going to sand it and actually get it even closer into place. So that looks pretty good, but the top one doesn't. A little sanding, and we are right there. That's great. I'm very happy with that. So we're going to do this one and this one, and then I can talk about the gussets. Oh, we're almost out of time. Let's just look at web B. So I'm happy with the angles that it's telling me to use here, slot 5 and slot 4. And then here we're going to use slot 4 again and slot 3. And then, so I'm going to just leave that in place right now. And then B. Let's see, is that a good one? Nope. Is that a good one? Nope. Okay. So get my slot 4. That was slot 4. And then I'm going to align it. Then I'm going to put my 2 dots. Dot right here. And a dot right there. And then that's what I'm going to put in slot 3. Slot 3 is this slot. And I'm trying to align the black dot. It's very hard to see. I'm trying to align it in the center of this gap. There it is. Okay, let's cut this. very close. And since it's so close, I want to get this other piece in here. So this one's looking great. So what I want to do is put two nails in this one to keep it from moving. That one's looking great. And then, how does this one work into the mix? Okay, that just needs a little bit of sanding there. I'm going to check this angle on the other side, because if we flip it, we can just check it over here. And then I'm looking at it, and it needs to go a little bit down. So the gentle sanding of this is going to be how you get them to come out just right. Almost. Getting closer. It's right there. That's it. Okay, I'm grabbing a nail, putting this in. That's having some trouble going in, so I'm going to grab my needle nose and get that in. So let's talk about the fit here. We're going to zoom in, and I'm trying to show you what the expectations are here. So I'm glad we got those two done. These cuts are complicated, and sanding them and getting them to go in just right is taking some time. But now that we have our pieces, we can do our marks off of these pieces that have been sanded. And I really like how flush this face is. This face is very flush. These, that edge could be sanded a little bit, and then that would drop in a little bit better. But this is going to be covered by a gusset. So there's going to be a little square that goes over that, and a little square that goes, a rectangle that goes over that too, up there. So you won't see it, but for it to be as strong as possible, you would want the faces to touch completely like we saw earlier. Okay, so this went really well. I'm very excited about the whole process, how it all is coming together. And at least you can be doing these cuts and building the 16 trusses. And we'll look at more of how the gluing or nailing goes as we continue this process.